I'm sorry. Welcome, and first thing I want to do is just ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know what? Can I just ask everybody to just please remain standing for a moment? And the only reason why I'm not standing is because the microphone's a little low. I wanted to ask everybody to please take a moment of silence for a family within the Brentwood community. Not sure if everybody knows, but our Director of Security, Byron McCrae, had a tremendous loss in his family. His son, Keenan Jennings McCrae, passed away suddenly. And if there's anybody who is not aware of the Herculean effort that Byron made for this district last year to keep us all safe from this COVID virus, it was relentless. It was 7 days a week. It was endless. There were no working hours. It was 24 hours a day. And, nobody knows how it is that these things happen in life, but life does happen. And I know that I speak on behalf of all the board members, central administration, administrators, and everybody in this district. Anybody who's had contact with Byron knows that he is an incredibly special human being. And although I did not know his son, I can only imagine that it had to come from the same mold. So on behalf of the entire district, on behalf of everybody here, I am going to request that we have a moment of silence in honor and in memory of Keenan Jennings McCrae, son of our beloved Byron McCrae. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please be seated. With that being said, I would like to go to item A3. Mr. Lotion, if you'd like to take that over.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. We're very pleased this evening to have a presentation by Dr. Vincent Leone. As you know, the Brentwood School District has been very fortunate. They've received additional funding from the federal government in the COVID relief. And we're obviously thrilled for the Brentwood community that we have this influx of monies. And we've spent a great deal of time going through how exactly we can best spend the money to benefit our students and the Brentwood community. And I think after tonight's presentation, and it will not be the only one over the next several years, but we have some exciting news. We're going to do some projects that I think will please the students and the parents of the students and the community. And we'll also be taking care of things behind the scenes. The district is 50 and 60 years old in many parts of the district, and as you can imagine, there are things that need to be replaced. So they're not, necessarily something that you'll see from the street, but there are some things that will be replaced because of this influx of money, and it will be at no cost to the community members. So we're thrilled about that, and we're excited about this first presentation. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our coordinator of funded programs, Dr. Leone. While you're setting up, I do want to actually thank Dr. Leone. He's been just a tremendous asset to the community. He's been with us for a few years now, and he was a terrific find, and he has helped us so much in so many ways. And these grants that we've secured are just a small part of it. And I also want to thank the cabinet, Ms. Palmer, Ms. Young, and Ms. Ortiz, because they've spent, and I'm sorry, Ms. O'Connor, and they've spent, I can't tell you how many hours and hours and hours putting together not just this presentation, but also looking at how to best serve the community with this money. So I want to really give them a special round. Can I give them a round of applause? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lochner, Mr. Feliciano, the entire Board of Education, everyone who's in attendance here tonight, for those who are visiting with us remotely. Thank you for this opportunity to give you an overview of our 2020-2023 Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act funding. We're going to call that CARISA, affectionately, for the rest of the evening tonight. And my goal really is to communicate the process that went into the development of the budgets for these emergency funds that Mr. Lochner describes. So, excellent. Thank you so much, Candace. So there are two budgets associated with CARISA funds, and this is what we like to refer to in the Office of Funded Programs as alphabet soup. So the first one is GEAR, also known as the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund. So the Brentwood Union Free School District's allocation under GEAR was $714,889. The second budget under CARISA is ESSER, or the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. The Brentwood School District's allocation under ESSER was $17,640,249. Broadly, the State Education Department determines those allocations based on the number of students in a school district in New York State and the concentration of economically disadvantaged students in a school district in New York State. Brentwood is the largest suburban school district in New York State. We have high concentrations of economically disadvantaged families. For that reason, our allocations of ESSER and GEAR funds were among the highest in New York State. The project period, we're able to assign these funds going all the way back to March of 2020, and we're able to use the funds basically for the next 3 years, to September 30th, 2023. So priorities. So how did we decide upon the priorities for this emergency funding? Once Superintendent Lochner and the cabinet knew that we had these monies available to improve outcomes for students in our district, the directive was to really look at significant stakeholder input, and this analysis went back 3 years, and even more. So for the past 3 years in the district, we have been collecting survey data from students, parents, and staff in connection with our district comprehensive improvement plan. We have actually collected survey information during that time period over the last 3 years from thousands of students in Brentwood, hundreds and hundreds of parents and community members, hundreds and hundreds of staff members. And essentially those surveys were designed to tell us two things. What are some things we're doing well here in this district? What should we do more of? And what are things we need? What are things we can do differently to continuously improve? So once Mr. Lochner and the cabinet understood that these funds were available, the directive was to pour through that data, pour through that information, in addition to the significant amount of survey data that we had to collect last year, which was really significant. For example, we had to collect 3 times last year information related to digital equity from the New York State Education Department. We had to give surveys to our staff, students, and the community in connection to our reopening plan. So there was a plethora of information that we had from our most cherished stakeholders, our parents, our community members, our families, our staff and our kids, who told us, this is what you're doing well, here are the things we need. So the directive from Mr. Lochner and the cabinet was clear. Pour over that information, organize it, categorize it, and let us understand what our constituents really want. So that was the process and approach to developing these initial priorities. And it won't surprise you to learn what they are, I don't think, broadly. So one was infrastructure. Mr. Lochner talked about the age of the district. Infrastructure to keep people safe. For example, ventilation systems and cybersecurity. Also, another key area that was identified by our constituents, social and emotional health for our staff and for our students, particularly in the context of the impact the coronavirus has had, the isolation that it's had, making sure we have resources to keep our staff and our children healthy in the context of social emotional health. And the third was academic support, making sure we had the resources to assess learning loss that may be associated with the coronavirus, school closures, intermittent quarantines, and making sure we had all the tools, resources, and support necessary to allow our students to catch up and to thrive. So in sum, these priorities were the result of multi-layered analysis of stakeholder input, key stakeholder input, going back 3 years. And that's how the priorities were identified. Then, even with all that information, the State Education Department required us to do even more surveying. We had to survey the community again, specifically in connection with this budget and this application. We had to demonstrate the extent to which we asked our stakeholders what they think are the most important priorities. So that is exactly what we did. Excuse me 1 second. Good grief. Candace can edit that. Okay, so what we did is we developed a survey that had 40 preliminary ideas on it for the best ways we thought we could spend this money. And those 40 ideas were organized in those 3 key buckets I just described to you: infrastructure, social emotional well-being, and academics. And we gave our students and our families and our staff and our families an opportunity to rate those 40 ideas from not important at all to very important, and we gave people an opportunity to offer new ideas, ideas of their own, something we didn't think of, right? So ideas for themselves. So here are some results of the survey. I think I'm going in the wrong direction. Here are some results of the survey. So the numbers that you're looking at, the survey response rate, is not incredibly high. You'll notice that 305 staff, took this one particular survey. 297 community members took the survey. I chalked that up to survey fatigue. This survey was given at the end of the year, in a year where there were more surveys given than I can ever possibly imagine. I mean, people's heads were spinning with surveys. The information we got back, however, the quality of the information, when we compared it to what we knew our stakeholders wanted from years of analysis, made the information meaningful because it was really convergent. It confirmed a lot of things that we knew that our stakeholders really wanted. So you'll notice that for the community members, 297, 176 took the survey in English, 121 took the survey in Spanish. I created a video to accompany the survey to explain to folks what we were doing. Wanda, Ms. Ortiz Rivera, did the survey in Spanish, and we sent that out with the survey as well. So I regard myself as somewhat as a celebrity. I'm like noticed in the supermarkets in Brentwood. Wait, look, Mommy, it's him, it's the guy in the video. So we did that too. So some results. So just to give you an example of the type of information we were looking for, convergent data, where our staff and our community agreed that the expenditure was a priority. So for cybersecurity, for example, 79.5% of our staff thought that cybersecurity was extremely important or very important. 83.1% of our community thought it was extremely important and very important. So we allocated money in our budget for cybersecurity. Enhancing Wi-Fi software, 96% of our staff, 85.3% of our community agreed that was very important. So we allocated money in our budget to enhance Wi-Fi software. Purchasing new devices and laptops for our new students, our kindergarten students, our staff and community agree that's very important or extremely important. So we allocated money in that area. So that is some quantitative data. And here is some qualitative data. So I'll give you the words of a BUFSD teacher in this context. Quote, please provide access to building-wide Wi-Fi. Many teachers have their own laptops, but would benefit from the use of Wi-Fi. BUFSD teacher, we hear you. And we have budgeted money for you. Another example, post-high school planning for college and career readiness. Staff agree, community agrees, we budget money. Professional development for teachers. 79.1% of teachers in the district said professional development is important, extremely important. Give it to us, we want PD. 81.1% of the community think so. Guess what? We budget money for it. We hear you. Let's hear it from a BUFSD teacher. Find better targeted PD for teachers and allow departments to find creative, meaningful solutions that teachers can use for PD. BUFSD teacher, we hear you. And the last example, homeless transportation. We all agree that's important. We budget for it. Hire social workers and psychologists. Our constituents agree it's important. We budget for it. Says a BUFSD community member, I believe that more social workers and an additional psychologist are necessary to address the needs of students and their families to best support them, especially through the pandemic. BUFSD community member, we hear you. This is a 30,000-foot view from the moon of the gear budget. Don't know if you could see that so well by budget category. 30,000-foot view from the moon of the ESSER budget. Next steps. So that was fun. So the $18 million, together with the two budgets, the ESSER and the GEAR budgets, were approved by the State Education Department. Not only were they approved, but we received laudatory feedback from the State Education Department on the quality of the plan that the Brentwood Union Free School District put together with these funds, which is rare. The State Education Department typically tells me when I'm doing wrong, like on a daily basis. But it's rare that they tell you you've done something very well. And they told us we did this very, very well. So certainly a compliment to Mr. Lochner and the cabinet. But that was fun, right, at the $18 million. Now we have a $40 million budget to create. So the American Rescue Plan funds that the district has been allocated, $40,879,935. The funding period also from March 2020, this one goes out a little further. We could use it for another year. Goes through September 2024. The allowable expenses are the same as Carissa, so that multi-year, multi-layer approach to data analysis that Mr. Lochner and the cabinet have facilitated are applicable to the American Rescue Plan budget. Some preliminary priorities for that $40 million budget. Initial budget items with strong staff, community support, 70 plus, extremely excited, extremely important, very important, and also aligns to that multi-year data analysis approach. Improve air quality in all buildings. Remodel elementary playgrounds and libraries. Remodel science and technology rooms. Purchase devices for teacher use. Rosetta Stone licenses for students, staff, and parents. Increase translation services for staff and parents, and extended school day programs for before and after school for our students. Our plan to monitor these funds to ensure that they are having the desired impact on systems, practices, and most importantly, children, is to leverage existing progress monitoring mechanisms in the district. Our district comprehensive improvement plan activities, our school comprehensive education plans, our school improvement team plans, and quarterly board report. This says quarterly board report. Ms. Wanda Ortiz Rivera probably put that in there. She probably said, who's doing that, me, Ms. Ortiz Rivera? Okay, we'll do a quarterly board report to make sure that everybody is aware of what it is that we're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my overview of the Carissa funds. In sum, those budgets are not our budgets, central office, they're your budgets. The community's budgets, our children's budgets, they're ours. We intend to use those funds to improve the district and improve outcomes for children. Are there any questions?
Any questions from board members? Mr. Lochner, is there anything that you need to add to that, or is this was very, very, thank you. Very,
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. Very comprehensive. Very comprehensive. What I can tell you is that just from our perspective, you know, the need to monitor how it is that we are using these funds to make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for the buck is a priority for this Board of Education. We have gone rounds and rounds, not necessarily in a bad way, but just to make sure that we are maximizing and stretching the dollars so that we can, you know, put this district in a position where, you know, we can go out another 50 years and not worry about, you know, some of the issues that Mr. Loney has brought up. Give you a perfect example. You know, we're replacing boilers that are 60 years old. And I know it sounds crazy, but yes, that is the kind of, you know, stuff that needs to be done in order to ensure that we have the longevity. And what a gift to the Brentwood community in terms of this money, because, normally we would have to go out and get a bond, sell the bond to the community. The community would have to vote on it, and then it would be debt that's owed. And this is free money, and it doesn't get any better than that. So we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to, again, represent the community, in the best way possible. So thank you, Mr. Leone, for that.
If I could just add something to that, Mr. Feliciano, there's other things too that actually are not in front of you right now, but I think it's something to celebrate as a community. We actually, because of really the way we've been really financially responsible over the last few years, we've actually put money into the Capital Reserve Fund, and you'll also see quite a few projects taking place over the next year, and then we will continue to put money into the Capital Reserve Fund, and we'll continue to do capital improvement projects that, again, will be at no cost to the district, and that's really only because we've been financially responsible over the last few years. So, for instance, you will see projects behind the high school that hopefully will begin within the next few months, possibly a year from now, and there'll be other improvements across the district that we're really excited about, and that again will come out of the Capital Reserve Fund, and again at no cost to the district. And also it should be noted at this point we're finishing up the Energy Performance Grant. I'm sure you have noticed that all of our schools have solar panels either in the parking lot or on the roof. And we should be able to go live very soon where that energy, obviously from the solar panels, will be pumped back into the schools and will reduce our electrical bill significantly, and eventually it will be zero. So again, we're doing some exciting things here in the district that I think we should celebrate really as a community.
Absolutely, Mr. Lotion. I know that we've brought this up in the past. You just mentioned the Capital Reserve account. What's great about that, Mr. Lochner, is that there's a bonus, there's an added piece from the state. What is the match, Ms. O'Connor, to the Capital Reserve money? So for every dollar that we lay out, what do we get back from the state?
We get back about 85 cents from the state.
Yeah.
So in aid.
So there's just, a tremendous amount of thought and effort in making sure that Brentwood is represented properly. And thank you, Ms. O'Connor. I know you have a lot to do with that. And thank you to the board members who are always so vigilant. So thank you.
Very true.
Thank you, Mr. Leone.
Thank you so much.
I believe there is a question on the presentation.
Yeah. Will his presentation be on the internet?
Yeah.
Yes, we should be posting that to
Yeah,
the district website. Yep.
Okay. And second question, what projects are we planning behind the high school?
Well, we hope to actually put in turf fields eventually. And again, that's something we're real excited about. Now, you have to understand, every time you do a capital project from the Capital Reserve Fund, you have to do projects both on the exterior of the building and the interior of the building. So simultaneously, while we're going outside, obviously that's very visible to the community. We'll also be doing projects inside. We'll be improving classrooms, for instance, the library. We'll also be looking at the auditoriums, which were updated in the early 2000s. They still look fabulous, but there's some updates that need to happen with the sound system, for example, as well as possibly the rugs and other things, the walls and the lighting also. So as we do projects on the exterior of the buildings, you'll have to understand that there's things that are also taking place on the interior of the building.
Wasn't the first already due
Yes.
and paid for?
Well, it's out of the Capital Reserve Fund.
So that doesn't come out of his?
No, it actually will not come out of the federal fund. But I thought since we were, mentioning things and we have a nice sized audience, I think they should know that. But yes, the turf fields on the outside, I think that will be something that really, again, the community can take a great deal of pride in, and we're looking forward to having that in the near future.
Mr. Lochner, I know that you also mentioned playgrounds. So you want to just expand on that?
Yeah, that one I am really excited about. Well, we have Miss Young here. We're going to have a couple of What exactly, how do we, sensory playgrounds. We're going to have some sensory playgrounds at both Oak Park and Southwest Elementary. But again, because of really outstanding financial responsibility, the way we've really handled our money, and obviously a great deal of thanks goes to Miss O'Connor. We should give her a round of applause here, because this is really, she's been the Robin Hood lately, and giving it to the Brentwood community. We're very excited about this. We really hope to put new playgrounds in all of the elementary schools. And, okay, this is actually, I have to take credit for this one, because this one I'm really thrilled about. Since we do have money, I want to put, I really do want to put this in. American Ninja, or American, what is that called again? American Ninja? American Warrior, or something like that. It's where you, I want to put that in all 4 middle schools and the freshman center. We're going to put in American Ninja thing. It's one of these things that the kids run and jump on, and they swing on, and they hop over, and they do all kinds of things, and it will be in a very protected area. And I think we'll probably be one of the first school districts around that will have that. So I hope to have that in all 4 middle schools, hopefully this year, and the freshman center. And we'll still have to cook up something, for the high school as well. So again, that's only really because of the way we've handled our money here. And again, none of this is at a cost to the district, but I'm thrilled for the students. I think they're going to have a blast on these things. And I think they'll also be very pleasant to the schools, their look. I'm kind of fanatical too. I don't want to just put them in in a space. I also want to do, I'd like to see nice fencing around, hardscape, have nice walkways up to these playgrounds and these areas, so they actually look pleasant to the community as well. So that's a very important thing that we really want to make it so that students and community members are proud to drive by their school and see these facilities.
Thank you very much, Ms. Loescher, and the courses are called parkour courses, and I think that the projection is that 6 years or 5 years after they're installed, we will have a champion on that show representing the Brentwood community. That's a personal guarantee, by the way, that Mr. Loescher has made me, all right? Okay, maybe not. Maybe, but we're going to try.
I think we will.
Right?
I think we will.
All right. So that would be a goal of ours. Thank you so much, Mr. Leone. All right, we're going to move on to questions on the agenda items. And, last board meeting, there was controversy in terms of what it was that we were trying to do. We've changed the policy in terms of questions on the agenda items, and that we are requesting that community members fill out the forms that are in the back in their totality with the actual question on the form. And what we're going to do is we are going to receive these forms, the district clerk collects them, and we will be reading the question and answering it from the dais here. And I know that it's a relatively new idea. We did change the policy months ago, but we really haven't had in-person meetings for a really long time. And this may take a little bit of time to get used to, right? So we're not trying to disenfranchise or shut anybody down. What we're trying to do is make sure that these meetings are run efficiently, respectfully, and in a manner that, sheds light on how it is that we conduct ourselves in the board rooms and in this district. And there was a tendency for some of these meetings to truly get out of control. And that was where our hand was for. So with that being said, I think that what I need to do tonight, right, is, and maybe for the next, meeting, try to reinforce this concept that this is what we're going to do. We're going to ask that community members fill these out completely, and not just put an item number, but actually ask the question that you want answered. With that being said, I recognize that there are this, like I said, new concept, and there are, takes a while for changes to root themselves in the community. I've noticed that there are a number of questions related to the halal food issue. And what I'm going to ask, because we only have one person who actually asked the question, everybody just said they wanted to really just comment on implementing a halal food program. So what I'm going to ask, and respectfully, I'm going to ask that the community please allow for this commentary or any of the requests that you might make to be made during the end of the meeting, where it is a community comment section, which is really open for any of the suggestions that are being made on the white sheet that was filled out. I know that there is an E item when it comes to lunch menu on the agenda, but I promise you that this item on our agenda will not impact our ability to address the needs that are going to be brought forth by the community. We really are committed to trying to service the kids who are looking for halal food. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the one question that I think that we have answers to. And that question comes from Malik Deeb, and that is, what steps has the district taken to identify and address the needs of Muslim students? For those that may not know, this was an item that was brought up, I think, probably first year on the board for Ms. Moore and I. And we, 9 years ago, we committed to the Muslim community that we were going to take into consideration the needs, not just the academic needs, but the personal needs, because we understand the importance of the faith to this community. One of the things was, at the time that when we were discussing these, the community wanted to recognize the Eid holiday, which is very, very important to the faith. I'm glad to report that we passed a resolution, one of the first, on Long Island, maybe if not the first on Long Island, that recognized the Eid holiday as a school holiday. So schools are being closed. So schools are being closed in recognition of the Eid holiday. The other request at the time was that because of the intricacies of the faith, some of the students needed a place and a time to pray during the day. And the request was to allow for those students to participate in prayer and to have a designated location within the school district where that could happen. And I'm happy to report that there was a prayer room or a space for a prayer room set aside for students of the Muslim faith, and that, I believe, is another wonderful accomplishment for the Brentwood School District. Okay. Mr. Loshner has actually made it even better. I mean, I failed to mention, it is a space for all faiths. Because, it is important that we celebrate the diversity in this community. So, yes, so that's wonderful. And the other item that was at the time being mentioned was a request to introduce halal food. Now, this request was made at a time when halal lunches in school districts was, I think, unavailable in any of the districts. And when we did research how it is that we could introduce that into the district, at the time it was very, very, very cost prohibitive. But what we did was we sat down with some of the leaders in the Brentwood community and told them that, although we couldn't at the time move in that direction in its full capacity, we were able to sit down with the food lunch program manager and our business official and create a menu that allowed for vegetarian options that really didn't exist in the quantity prior to having this conversation. So we were able to meet the community on a very, very middle ground. And I believe that that was another great accomplishment. I believe that it was tremendously appreciated by the Muslim community, notwithstanding that we will discuss at the end of this meeting going to fully certified halal meals. I understand that that is what the conversation will entail. So those are three, I think, very important accomplishments that we, as a district, have provided. And look, the conversation is going to continue. It's an open dialogue, and I'm very proud of the fact that we are an incredibly progressive board, and those decisions rest, with the 7 members that sit up here, and I can proudly say that once the decision was made to move in that direction, Mr. Lochner and his team did everything to quickly implement those items, and here we are, again, celebrating the diversity of the community. So I hope that is...
Robert, if I may, I'm not sure if everybody can hear me. So I just want to be able to update that we have taken specific steps to meet the needs of the halal, to meet halal foods within the district. And just today, in fact, I was able to set up, I wasn't present, of course, but I believe our superintendent, possibly Ms. O'Connor, and our food service director met with 2 Brentwood graduates who own a halal food restaurant, and were able to give them significant amount of information. And they are moving forward with trying to get the process started and completed as far as bringing halal foods to Brentwood. So everything that you said is true, and we are definitely moving forward in this direction. So I just wanted to update that. Thank you.
So to everybody who was wondering where... Yes.
Oh, if you don't see me, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
on vacation.
To everyone who is wondering where that voice is coming from, it's actually the Wizard of Oz. And this is just what we do in Brentwood. We just, aim to please. And Julie, you are the designated Wizard of Oz. Actually, in all seriousness, this is Trustee Burgos. She is participating in our meeting from North Carolina. And I want to say that this may be the first time we've ever had a virtual participant. So for the records, Julie, you are the first, I believe. And yes, so Trustee Burgos is North Carolina, and she's participating in this meeting from that location. So anybody who wants to go to the library, where she is located, is more than welcome. So, thank you. So I'm gonna move right along, and I will call these names back up when we're finished with the agenda. What I am going to say is, Mr. Cuomo, you did...
Robert,
Sure.
make it clear that it's a pilot program. I don't want the expectation that we're going to roll out a full program.
Yes, yeah, in the commentary, yep.
Excuse me, do you want to mention also that there was a tasting of the food earlier?
That's exactly what Trustee Burgos said. So today there was a tasting and a sampling of halal food introduced by a local vendor, and that was what Trustee Burgos was referencing. So.
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing, but I just wanted to make sure that
Sure.
what I said is heard, and if somebody can just repeat the last thing that was just said.
That there was a tasting of the halal food today by the district.
So there is...
Yeah, Robert, I hear you, maybe you can repeat it.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble hearing everybody else.
They lowered the volume. So what I'm going to ask is, you have your hand raised. I'm sorry.
So, what is the time frame you're looking at? Is it going to be preliminary September?
Can we have that conversation at the end of the meeting? I promise, we will get to those, okay? So, Mr. Cuomo, you submitted a sheet. It has the question as D1E, Table of Organizations, but it doesn't really have the question. So I am going to ask, please ask the question, and I'm asking that maybe next time.
Same question last time, with another assistant principal. Do you know what school these people go to?
Ms. Lotion, if you can answer that question, that's fine. So what I'm going to ask is, that's a perfectly valid question, Mr. Como, and what I ask is in the future, if you could just write that question down, we will answer the question. Mr. Lotion, if you can you tell us?
Sure. There will be 2 assistant principals appointed this evening. One will be for Hemlock Park, and the other will be for Loretta. And I guess when they're being, one for Hemlock Park, one for Loretta Park. And when they're introduced, I'll make sure Mr. Feliciano says that.
And you want last one?
AP that we appointed, Ms. Lotion?
Oh, the assistant principal we appointed at the last meeting, that was for Northeast Elementary School.
Assigned to Northeast.
You know at that time, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Just so that everybody understands, assistant principals and these administrators are appointed to the general tenure area, and they're never appointed to a specific school. That's why the resolution reads the way it does. So we have a question from Mr. Moss. It's on agenda items for the certificated personnel, A4. There are several questions, and the question is, were the certifications verified by the Board of Education for those people being appointed? And this question has come up in the past, and I'm going to answer it personally. So I believe that the function of the board is to assign those tasks to Mr. Lochner and his staff. So I personally do not verify certifications. That is what we have, I believe, the administrators in place. No. So then I can answer this as that I don't, but what I do is I trust that the staff who are placing these names on the agenda and those responsible to do so have done so. Mr. Lochner, I mean, can you?
Yes, I can, excuse me. Yeah, I can verify everyone on the agenda has been, it's been verified that they do have the certifications.
And the process of verifying those certifications?
It's actually multi-layered. We do have, actually we have the assistant superintendents, we have people in human resources, and we actually have the physical documents.
Okay. Question number 2 is, were any contracts, employment contracts, I'm assuming, being ripened tonight? If so, which ones?
I'm actually ripened. I'm not sure what ripened means.
Well, I think that in the past, this ripened has referred to people in positions who then automatically stay in the positions that they're being appointed to.
Okay, the only thing I can say is that every single position that is being appointed this evening, the candidates have gone through the hiring committees. They've gone through a level 1 hiring committee. If they're teachers, then they see the assistant superintendent. And if it's an administrator, they go through level 1 and then level 2. And I believe that meets the requirement, the hiring requirements in 9240. Well, so no one is ripened. If ripened means you just move from one position to the next without going through the hiring process, that is not the way we do it. If it's a teacher position, just, hypothesizing if you mean like a leave replacement or perm sub position, moving into a tenure track probationary teacher position, that leave replacement teacher or probation or perm sub teacher would have to submit an application through OLAS, The application would have to go through the process of being reviewed by the assistant superintendent as well as human resources, and then they would go through a hiring committee comprised of building personnel. They might be administrators and teachers, as well as a community member as required by 9240, policy 9240. And so they've gone through the entire process. So no one's ripened from, one position,
Thank
whether
you.
it's a perm sub or a leave replacement.
Thank you very much. So question number 3 is, why are contracts being given to teachers that exceed the expiration date of their certification? The only way I can answer that, Mr. Moss, is by saying that that is an issue that's part of potential litigation at this point. There is a resolution on our agenda in which this topic is being questioned. So with all due respect, I can't answer that question now because of potential and possible litigation, pending litigation. Number 4, why aren't we allowed to ask questions at the microphone the way we used to? I'm not sure if you were here when I did make the announcement in the beginning that we are trying to bring this approach of having questions on agenda items being written down on the sheet in the back of the room, being submitted to the Board of Education, and doing exactly what it is that we are doing right now, reading them as they are written, in efforts to, represent this community well, in efforts to make sure that these meetings are run respectfully, in efforts to make sure that we are keeping the poise and the respect that I think that each and every one of us deserves. These meetings have really, have, in the past, not all, but really have sometimes really gotten way out of control. And that may actually be because we didn't take into consideration that it's not something that we should allow ourselves to be exposed to. We are going to answer the questions. We are going to use this format as a way to maintain that manner that I just outlined.
Could I just interrupt you? I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back to the hiring, if I could. I would like to point out that we have been really very fortunate. We have actually with us the diversity, equity, and inclusion consult. I'm going to spit it out. I apologize, Betty Green. Miss Betty Green, who really has been with us now for over a year, and she's been a tremendous asset to the district. And she is involved, I don't want to say 100% of the time because it's just physically not possible. We obviously we hire quite a bit, but she has been a very active participant. And I have to say, she works very closely with the assistant superintendents and administrators and teachers, representatives from the teachers union and the administrative union, and she's really been a tremendous asset. And I am really so pleased to introduce Miss Betty Green, if I can.
I am a 59-year resident of the Brentwood School District.
Amen.
I went to school in Brentwood. I graduated in 1969 from Brentwood. I came back and I retired back in the district in 1973. I retired in 2009. All 4 of my children, as well as my ex-husband, are graduates of my high school.
There you go.
About my being qualified to do this job. First of all, I want to say thank you. This could have been a contentious hot mess. Okay? Thank you to Ann Palmer. Thank you to Ronnie Young. And thank you to Wanda Vera
Ortiz Rivera.
Okay. We've had, thank you. Okay? This lady is so nice. I got a cash check last week. She said, I think you need to, I did. I forgot the cash check. All right. It has been a wonderful experience. Yes, there are things that we
That is the best.
Program. After that, I'm going to George Washington, because if I'm gonna represent my hometown, I'm gonna represent it right here. All right? Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Green.
Ms. Green, that is fantastic that you're
Well
actually
said.
doing that, but you really did not do that. You did not need to do that to be qualified for this.
Absolutely.
Anybody with the number of years in education, you are more than eminently qualified. And like I said, she's been a terrific asset to the district, and I think her, Ms. Green's intention will be to debrief the board, the entire board at various times, and maybe, at some point in time, she will also address the community.
That would be
Absolutely.
good. That really would. I am all for your position. I really. But the lawsuits that we get for not doing the right thing, and you're sitting in on these meetings, is just getting out of control. The community wants to know why we're spending so much money on these lawsuits. We're over probably close to $500,000.
Well, we will,
And I want you to be there. I want you to be and say what is going on. But we really need to start having the community see what really is going on. Because these lawsuits are ridiculous. Another one tonight. Every week we're getting one. We hire somebody, we get one. We need to stop. It needs to stop.
So,
So I really, I'm just,
Yeah.
that's why we hired her. She's doing a great job,
no, she,
but we shouldn't be getting all these lawsuits still.
I do want to echo Mr. Lochner's sentiment. Ms. Green, you and I...
If that comment is not going to be addressed, and it's about me, then I'm going to have a problem with that.
Excuse
So
me,
please address that comment.
It was a general comment that was
That
made
was a
by...
comment about the lawsuit tonight, and there's only one tonight, and it's
well-
about me. So I do not sue every time a person is hired. And if that is a false statement that you as a board are going to allow to fly here, then that is a slanderous statement.
So the comments that Ms. Safiri has made represent her opinion,
Thank you.
okay? And what I'm saying is that moving on from that, I would like to echo the sentiments of Mr. Lochner. Ms. Green, you and I have had this conversation in terms of this questioning of your qualifications. I'm so glad that Superintendent Lochner said it, because I've had these conversations with you in private, and I feel exactly the same way. Your education, your life experience, your background is enough for me to say that you are fully qualified to do the work that we've entailed you to do. So we appreciate this. So, and we are at some point going to be debriefed by Ms. Betty Brown Green, and she will have, I think, a lot of insight for us. So thank you again for all your services.
thank you, Ms. Green.
So number 5, in 2019, over 20 blacks applied for teaching positions via an agreement with Mr. Lochner. Did Mr. Lochner go back and make sure that each got a fair shot? Mr. Lochner, are you aware of any agreement?
Yes, yeah, with the Islip Town NAACP, and I did forward the applications to Human Resources. Just as I said, they were pulled. If they met certain qualifications, they were interviewed. So again, that's all I can say. Everybody who applies gets I shouldn't say everybody. Everybody applies, goes through a vetting process, and if they make it to the round of being interviewed, then they're interviewed. I believe some of them were interviewed. I actually think, 1 or 2 of them were hired, I believe. I believe so. But again, they're going to face the same level field that everyone else is, has to be held to.
My question is particularly about the board agenda tonight. So are you confirming that for all of these positions that were applied to through you, that those individuals were, their resumes were given to Ms. Green, and that they were given a fair shot for these positions on the agenda tonight? Are you confirming that, sir?
Okay, I have to qualify one thing that you said, Mr. Mawson. I did say earlier that Ms. Green could not possibly go through every position. So there were many of these, she was a part of that process, but I am not saying to everyone that the DEI consultant was involved in everyone who was hired here.
Okay.
However,
Well,
everyone,
maybe not Ms. Green, but you said human resources. So whoever is in charge of human resources for these positions tonight, did you forward the resumes of the black applicants that were sent to you for these positions tonight?
I've given, any resume that comes to me gets sent to HR. What you should know, it's very clear that you must apply through OLAS. So you can send me a resume as superintendent, you can send one of the assistant superintendents a resume, but it is required by the policy to apply through OLAS. So I don't want anybody to think that because you send the superintendent or anyone in this district that you have a leg up. You must apply through OLAS.
Is that something that is new for your administration? Because that was not the case from the time you started here
It is.
to
Right.
present time. That was not the consistent rule. In fact, the reason why there are lawsuits is because the board refused to enforce the policy and you refused to enforce the policy. So please don't sit there while I stand here tonight and make it look like for the past 4 years that has been the case. That hasn't been the case, and that is very much so why there's litigation going on, because I am very appreciative of the surveying. I'm a math guy. I appreciate that you are listening to the community, but that hasn't always been the case. Individuals have come to the board, explained that, and written to the board that discrimination takes place when you have less qualified whites, for example, getting ahead in the selection process over more qualified blacks. That has been explained to all of you. And when you have non-certified whites getting positions over qualified, certified blacks, that is the picture-perfect definition of hiring and employment discrimination. So I'm asking you tonight whether the individuals who were all certified, who all emailed you and CC'd the NAACP, got a fair shake tonight, and if they didn't, did you at least, because they didn't apply to OLAS, did you write to those individuals and say, please apply on OLAS, we're still interested in your application?
Yeah. You know what, Mr. Moss, I'm going to take a pause here. I believe that Mr. Loshner answered the question to the best of his abilities. I am going to ask respectfully that we move on from this topic. This is exactly what it is that we are trying to address.
Avoid is answering the questions?
No, he did. He did answer the question. The problem is that...
No, I had to clarify it because he answered it as if I'm asking about this agenda, not the past.
And I believe that he did answer the question, and what I'm going to say...
So the answer is no, then? He didn't do it?
No,
Okay, thank you.
that is not the
Thank
answer.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Good enough. Thank you, Mr. Loshner.
No, thank you.
Sorry about that, but... those are the questions on the agenda items. I am going to now move to consent agenda. Be it resolved that the following items be approved, B1A through B1M. I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Moore. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? So moved. Be it resolved, the following items be approved, B2A through B2CC. I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Holder. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. B2A through B2CC.
I want a discussion on that. The time.
On one item?
B2A.
B2E. Discussion on B2E. Yes. Please.
The starting time at 5 o'clock.
You know what, I had a conversation with trustee Burgos about this, and I think that there's a misinterpretation. So the start time is only for exec session. We will not be starting a public session at 5 o'clock. So I think that there's maybe it's,
It's written wrong though.
Yes.
On the calendar, Robert, just so you know, I looked after we spoke. It does say that the meeting will start at 5 and will start at 6:30
Yes.
if there is executive
So,
session.
yep.
So I think we need to reverse that.
so I did say that we, absolutely had a commitment from me that, that the public session was not starting at 5. That was something that we did during COVID, but that is not what we're,
I think the issue is during the workshops because
yep. I mean,
the business meeting
Yep,
is clear that we go
Yeah.
to executive
The
session at
problem-
5 and public session starts at 7:30.
Yep.
However, for the workshop meetings, it's stated that the meeting will start at 5 and will start at 6:30 if there is executive session. So it's not really very clear.
Yes, yes.
And I believe that it's wrong.
So I believe that is, again, even when we have, dates on calendars and times on calendars, this board, we've always made adjustments. We've had to cancel meetings that have been on calendars because of different circumstances. We will continue to do that. There is absolutely no intention of having public meetings starting at 5 o'clock. And to the
No,
point
but I
that
want
Ms.
to go back
Safiri,
to our regular time. That
Yeah.
was never a problem for anybody to get here.
so to the point that Ms. Safiri is making, the problem with, with boards is that we have to have compromises. Some people are better with a later start time, and some are not. So let me give you the opposing view of what it is that you're presented. There are some board members who have a very early start.
I do.
In the morning.
I do.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I do.
And some members still have young children at home that they still have to care for. Some of these meetings have ended.
I have all
at
what you're
11
saying. I
At
have all what
11
you're
o'clock.
saying.
And it's really, really difficult for
But when
us
we
to.
signed up for this, that's what we signed up for those hours.
But no, we didn't. What we
did.
signed, no, what we signed
When
up.
I ran for this board, that was the hours.
Those are the hours at the time,
And
yes.
that's how
But
it's
what
been
we
for years.
But what we signed up for was to go ahead and, do the will of the majority.
Those
So-
hours have been for years, over 10 years.
I understand that. And the only thing that we did was, and one side was, we're trying to have the start time of the public meetings at 7:30 instead of 8 o'clock with the hope that we get out by, 10:30 instead of 11:30.
I don't have a problem
That's all.
getting out of
Yeah.
here at 11, 12.
So that's all.
Robert, can we go back to the workshop discussion?
Sure.
If you can take just a minute to look at the calendar that Kathy sent. Like I said, I pulled it up. If you want, I can send it to you. Because I don't really want to vote on something that's not written correctly.
Well,
And
because.
I believe that it's not written correctly. And I can read what it says. So this way, I know not everybody can see me, but you can hear me. So just give me a minute to pull it up. The way that the workshop meeting language reads is as follows. Workshop 5 p.m., public session at 6:30 p.m. if executive session is needed. So the way it seems is that the workshops are at 5 p.m. and the workshops are public. So I think we need to change it to workshop at 6:30 p.m. Change to 5 p.m. if executive session is needed. Just flip it. Now, before we vote on the resolution, can we somehow either put into the resolution that we're going to make that change?
Well, I mean,
And that's something maybe Candace can help us with.
I hear you, Julie, and I think that it's even simpler than that. We've just had the discussion. I believe that there is an agreement, a meeting of the minds in terms of what we're saying. I believe that we're saying the same thing, and I just don't think that we have to write it into the resolution because these meetings change all of the time. We canceled,
Right, but Robert, my point is, I want it to be on the calendar that's going to be printed, that goes home, or,
Yes.
or gets posted on our website, or that parents can access electronically. I want it to be correct.
okay, so how
It should
about,
not say workshop at 5 PM, it should say workshop at 6:30 PM.
okay, so how about,
Is
how
that
about we,
something that we're agreeing on?
yeah, so how about we do this, Julie, we send out an email, I'll send out an email to Kathy tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow morning, making those corrections before they actually gets printed onto the calendar. Okay?
So, I mean, Kathy's with us, so she can take note, because it
Sure.
really isn't
And she's actually
the
writing
way it
as
should be.
as you speak.
Okay, so it will be a board workshop at 6:30 PM. If needed, executive session will begin at 5 PM, something
Yes.
to that effect.
Yep,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. And Candace, Ms. Gomez, it's okay to go ahead and approve the resolution, given that it will be changed afterwards?
Yes, from what I understand, that does not actually change the text of the resolution. Is that correct?
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Feliciano?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Hi, Julie,
It's
are
not
you
your
able to
fault,
hear me?
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Trustee
Maybe-
Burgos, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, Trustee Burgos, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I just heard this last part, yeah.
Okay, I believe your question was whether the resolution would need to be changed, and I don't believe that the time is specified in the resolution, so that is not a change that would need to be made within the resolution.
All right, but the written calendar that we received has the wrong time on it. So I just wanted to be clear that we're not adopting that calendar, that we're going to adopt that calendar with the changes we just spoke about.
Yep, and I will follow up, Julie, Trustee Burgos, I will follow up tomorrow with that email using the language that you have presented.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. And that was part of this group that we're voting on that, so we're not excluding that item. Am I correct? Yes?
I'm sorry, Trustee Burgos, can you repeat that?
Yes, so I believe that we stopped because Trustee Safiri asked that we have discussion on this item.
Yep,
Since we've had discussion and I believe reached agreement, then we're going to continue with the vote as as part of the items that we're voting on now. Is that
Yep.
correct?
yes,
Thank you. And
okay.
so I'm just trying to volley back and forth between the agenda and the meeting. So we are up to, can you just tell me the agenda items that we are up to, please?
So we are on B2A through B2CC. I'm not sure if we had a motion?
I motion. So what do I do? If you want to vote for it?
Is there a motion? I can second
He's gonna
it.
go through all of them again.
So, Trustee Burgos, Trustee Burgos, what I'm going to do is, on item B2, B1, or B2G,
But B2E, I'm not voting.
what is it, I'm sorry?
You're going to remove it,
I'm no for B2E.
What is,
separate
what item
it?
was it?
I believe the discussion was regarding item B2E
Yes.
Yes.
on page 2.
Yes.
Okay.
So the suggestion was to have the board vote on that particular agenda item as amended
Okay,
pursuant to the discussions between Trustee Burgos and Trustee Feliciano. And that amendment would be to note that the calendar of meetings would state what, Trustee Feliciano?
so that it would be, that the public meetings would start at 6:30, and the exec sessions would be 5. There's no way that we would, okay, yes. So, we
Okay.
would- yeah. So Julie, I mean, so we're going to vote on this as amended as per our discussion.
I'm sorry, if we
Excuse
could,
me,
Okay,
Mr.
separately
McCollum.
from
if
the
we're
other
just
B
able to
items.
finish this vote. So I
Is
believe
that
that
correct? We're
there,
separating it from the other items?
That's correct, trustee Burgos, and I believe that there was already a vote on items B2A through B2CC, so perhaps at this time we could have a motion to rescind that vote. We would vote separately on B2E and then have a block vote on the remaining items B2A through B2CC.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I can make the motion if you'd like. Make a motion to rescind the previous vote.
Excuse me, Mr. Como.
B2A. All right, so it's B2A, yes, to B2,
We can't have a board member.
the last one is
Not in the premises here,
Z.
okay? They must be present
Well,
to vote.
CC,
They
no?
can Continue with the discussion, all right? But it's been a
CC.
long time policy.
Ms. Burgos, can you hang on for a minute, please?
Mr. Como, I understand that your point of order is that trustee Burgos cannot vote from another location. And
Oh.
that is what Mr. Como was claiming, but I just want to clarify for you, and I understand this is a different process, so this is an educational opportunity for many of us, I understand. But she is allowed to vote virtually, as long as the location that she is voting from has been provided to the public. It has been provided to the public in the meeting notice that was sent out before this meeting. Everyone is fully aware of where trustee Burgos is located in North Carolina. She is allowed to vote virtually through video conference.
So, can I just ask a question? So what you're saying is, as of right now, next month's meeting, if one of the board members who are here says, I'm not coming to the meeting, but you can reach me virtually at my house, we're gonna allow that?
Yeah.
You have to be in the public arena here, okay? Otherwise, you lose control of the board. What if 3 or 4 of you decide not to come? I'm gonna do it from home. That's taken away from the public. And I don't think there's a policy that says that they can vote for it. You still got a majority. They don't have to worry about that. But the thing is, there's no policy. And I remember back in the Sunderland cafeteria, when we tried to use another method of communication called the telephone, a board member got up, cut the wires because it was not applicable for that vote. You have to be present to vote.
Mr. Como, I understand what you're saying, but things have changed, and if you look at decisions by the New York State Committee on Open Government, and these are not secret decisions, they're open to any member of the public who wants to go to that website and Google it, you will see that a member of the Board of Education can vote virtually via video conference. However, they cannot vote via telephone. So the situation that you're referencing is absolutely correct. If trustee Burgos had called in on the phone, she would not be able to vote. She is voting via video conference, which is permissible if the proper notice has been provided, which it has prior to this meeting.
So with that being said, could I have a motion to rescind the B2A through B2CC?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Holder Daniel. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Now we are going to move on removing item B2E from the consent agenda so that we will be voting on B2E separately. Motion to remove item B2E from B2A through B2CC. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Second by trustee Moore. All in favor?
No.
Aye.
No,
Opposed?
Aye.
We're
we're
removing it.
removing it, yes.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So now we will be voting on items B2A through B2CC without item B2E. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Holder Daniel. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
Robert, can I just, I'm sorry, this is just a little, it doesn't affect the vote at all. just because the food service bids are included in this group that we just voted on. I just wanted to add to the conversation about the halal foods that those vendors can be approved at a later meeting once we go through the entire process that we have already initiated.
Yeah, Ms. Burgos, I'm going to ask, can you turn on your video camera, please?
It's on.
Okay.
I believe it's on.
It's a video conference.
Oh, there it is.
There it is, Julie.
Yeah.
Okay, so we couldn't see you on
Yeah,
the screen.
I'm sorry, I had it off because I was looking up agenda item, but I am here.
Okay. So, so now we need to vote on B2E, dates, times, and places for the Board of Education meetings workshop for the 2021-2022 school year. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves its calendar of meeting, workshops, and voting dates for the 2021-2022 school year as amended. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Burgos. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Discussion. I have a question.
Good.
From 5 to 6:30, what is that supposed to be? Is that exec session?
Exec session.
Now, we never have enough time to discuss all of the items in exec session, even when we have 2 hours. So how is an hour and a half?
Well, that would also be amended. That would be something that we would take care of. So we're hoping that that would be enough, but that would be something that we would change along the way.
I'm having trouble hearing. I'm sorry, Robert. That's why I have my, so some of you will see my ear. Can you just repeat the comment that was made and who made it, please?
There was concern about being able to come out at 6:30 if we were an exec. And that's something that, again, you know, the issue that we have is if we do post an hour, then we have, in terms of coming out to public, we're prohibited from actually coming out earlier. So this is a very conservative way to try to handle that. There are, you know that we've called special meetings whenever we have to. So this isn't about, you know, not meeting. This is about making sure that we are, have a calendar, a structure of a calendar, and we, you know, will continue to amend. I mean, I think that, you know, certainly the last year and certainly the last month, you've seen what we have to do in order to meet. So the commitment to meet and to discuss is there.
Yeah, I understand the comment though, Robert, because we did come out late quite often during this past year, but I think today, hopefully, it's a pattern that we are starting, that we were able to come out much closer to our scheduled time, and I hope that we will be right on time.
I hope so. I hope so, absolutely.
But it
So-
hasn't worked out. My concern is that what happens is we have so much to discuss, and we are a very wordy group, and I don't like having the community sit and wait for us for even 15 minutes. We
I
come
agree.
out late so often,
Absolutely.
and it's not good.
And we've had
We have a lot
complaints.
to talk about.
Yeah, and we've also had complaints about, the posting of the agenda when it's the same day, and we really, today was just exceptional. It was just one of those things. So the commitment is there to continue to try to do these things as appropriately as we can.
Yeah, we've also spoken often, and we've actually done it, that we put in extra meeting times when we
Absolutely.
need them.
Yep, and added,
And that's something we should probably do more often, so
Yeah.
that we do not let the public wait.
and
And we
added
carry on discussions that need to be discussed.
added more meeting dates, actually, yep. Yep. Okay, can we go around and place the vote again, please?
B2E.
On
For
B2E?
B2E?
Yep. All in favor? Aye.
No.
Aye.
Opposed? Trustee Seferi is opposed. Abstentions? So moved. We are going to move on to D items. I'm sorry. So consent agenda, C1B, could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Moore. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We are now on D1A, appointments, resignations, and leaves of certificated personnel as proposed on the agenda. Could I have a motion, please? Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1B, appointments, resignations, and leaves of non-certificated personnel. I am going to ask that we please table item 21. I'd like to get more information as to the background of that particular issue. So could I have a motion to table item 21 on D1B?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second, please? Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I abstain, Robert. I just don't have enough information to vote, so I will abstain.
Yes, yes, and that's what I'm asking for, is more information.
We're tabling it.
Yep, it's just a table. So, to get the information, Ms. Burgos.
Yeah.
So, all in favor?
I still abstain, thank you.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Trustee Burgos?
Yes.
Okay. So now, D1B, appointments, resignations, and leaves of non-certificated personnel, as amended. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Moore. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1C, memorandum of agreement as proposed on the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Can I have a second? Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1D, contract renewal for diversity, equity, and compliance consultant. Here's another one that I am going to ask the board to please consider in terms of an amendment. This agreement, as it stands, provides for this diversity, equity, and compliance consultant to have basically a one-year extension. What I'm asking, and for the board to consider, is to amend this so that it is a 2-year contract. So what everybody needs to understand is that the contract itself has a 30-day cancellation clause built into it. So at any moment, the contract can be canceled by the Board of Education or the consultant herself. So it works both ways. So there is no 24-month period worth of extension. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I believe that it's symbolic in nature. I believe that, and I think that as a lot of board members know, there has been some resistance to having the diversity, equity, and compliance consultant involved to the point that we would like her to be. There have been resistance to this idea that we are truly trying to diversify the Brentwood School District. You know, I know that we have a lot of great things going for us, but we're still not there yet. We're still not there yet. And I just wanted to propose that we amend this so that it does expire in 2023, almost symbolically. And that is what I am proposing. So I'm asking for a motion to amend D1D.
Can we just have some discussion? What is the harm? I have no problem with, I mean, I'm prepared to vote for this motion. I know that in the past I, opposed it, but not based on the concept or the person, just on procedure.
Yep.
But I'm at a good place, I feel, and I think we as a district are at a good place with where we are. I don't know that there will be an issue moving forward. Is this what your concern is, that a year from now we may not have the support?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that this issue of diversity, equity, and compliance will not resolve itself in a year. This is a long-term goal, and I believe that it will be, obtainable, and I believe that the commitment is there. And what I'm saying is that through this, we are saying to the Brentwood community that this is exactly that, something that we are committed to. And again, these fail-safe for all board members to understand is that there is a 30-day termination clause built into the contract. So if for some reason, and I can't really think of one, that is the case, well, then that option is there. So this is truly symbolic in nature, and that's where I'm coming from, Trustee Burgos.
Okay, no, thank you for the explanation. I think that we are, as a district, taking multiple measures and multiple steps to make sure that all of our students feel included, and that includes diversifying the staff. It includes expanding our food menu, as we have discussed already tonight. It includes acknowledging, all of our different cultures that are represented in our district. So I think that we are all headed in the right direction. I'm okay with that.
Thank you, thank you.
For 2 years.
So D1D, contract renewal, diversity, equity, and compliance consultant, I'm asking for a motion to amend so that the expiration date is September 30th of 2023. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Safiri. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1D, contract renewal, diversity, equity, and compliance consultant as amended. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Holder Daniel. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second?
Okay,
Wait, so Trustee
Robert,
Safiri?
what did we just vote on? Didn't
No, we just voted to
already?
amend. So second on the amended item?
No, we're voting.
Yeah, I don't mind seconding it, but I thought, didn't we just
We
have a
voted-
vote?
We
voted
didn't
to
vote. We have to
amend.
vote on the item now.
They voted
Okay.
to amend.
Yes, I
You're
can
voting on the
second
item.
So we have a first from Trustee Holder. Could I have a second on the item as amended?
Second.
Second, okay. I thought you said it, and so, all right, so we have a second from Trustee Safiri. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you very much. D1E, Administrative Table of Organization, Assistant Principal Elementary. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints Ms. Farah Badro as Assistant Principal Elementary for a 4-year probationary period effective August 23rd, 2021 through August 22, 2025 at a salary as set forth in the negotiated agreement between the Brentwood Union Free School District and the Brentwood Principals and Supervisors Organization. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Holder. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Moore. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Ms. Padro, can you please stand? Congratulations. D1F, Administrative Table of Organization, Assistant Principal Elementary. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints Alyssa Finnegan as Assistant Principal Elementary for a 4-year probationary period effective August 23rd, 2021 through August 22nd, 2025 at a salary as set forth in the negotiated agreement between the Brentwood Union Free School District and the Brentwood Principals and Supervisors Organization. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Moore. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Ms. Finnegan, can you please stand? So I just need to repeat something that we've talked about and Mr. Lochner has mentioned so many times. I, as well as Mr. Lochner and so many members of this board, if not all the members of the board, are so incredibly delighted with the appointments that we've made, throughout the years. Each one of these appointments matters. Each one of these appointments counts. And just incredibly dynamic group of people that we've appointed. And congratulations, and we know that you're going to serve this community very, very well. So thank you very much. D1G, could I have a motion to table?
Motion. Motion.
Motion to table from trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second? Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1H, approval for legal. D1G, administrative table of organization, payroll manager. Could I have a motion to table?
Motion.
Motion to table is trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
We're doing it again.
Who did the second? Oh, Paula was, I think, the second. Well, could I have a motion to table, please?
Motion.
Trustee Moore was the second to table. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
I know, see, we did. And we did it again. That's why I got confused, yeah.
We're going to revisit D1H after the public comment section. Yep, so we're going to go to D1I, Omni Waste Facility, as proposed on the agenda.
Motion.
Could I have a motion, please? Trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. E1A, student enrollment figures as proposed on the agenda. And F12, miscellaneous items for information only. We are at one of Mr. Lochner's favorite, right? Spots on the agenda, old and new business. Mr. Lochner, if you can.
Yes, I do want to say that we just ended, obviously, we're towards the end of the summer. We actually had an incredibly vibrant summer experience here for kids really across the district. I probably mentioned this in July because we were in the midst of this, but we did have quite a few summer camps going on really the entire summer. We just actually ended our STEAM camp over at Oak Park. Also, I think there's lots of new people here, so I am going to say that we actually started a new camp this year, and that was our swim program, and it was a resounding success. We literally had hundreds of students over in the pool who were all different levels learning how to swim. We had some outstanding teachers who volunteered their time. That was Miss Goomba and Mr. Drum. I want to thank them, as well as Miss Foles, also a phys ed teacher at the high school. And we had a number of, quite a few students who were lifeguards and also instructors in the pool from the high school who actually went through our life-saving and lifeguard program. So really outstanding. And I do want to let the community know that we're going to continue that program this fall and spring. We're going to have swim lessons for our students on Saturdays beginning in September. There'll be further notice. So I do want to say also tomorrow we have our summer school graduation. It's actually taking place at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I want to thank the largest summer school graduating class that we've had in a number of years, or if ever. It's 107 students will be graduating tomorrow, so we can give them a round of I want to thank, obviously, Mr. Chang and Dr. Rodriguez and all of the teachers who participated in that. I want to thank them for their efforts. Dr. Garvin Romaine, Assistant to the Director of Special Services for Elementary Speech and Hearing, was selected to be formally recognized by the American Speech Language Hearing Association with a certificate of recognition for outstanding contributions to preschool through grade 12. Congratulations, Garvin. And this actually I'm very excited about, because I think we've had a string of years here where we actually have a winner. Once again, the Brentwood School District was represented at the 2021 National Spanish Spelling Bee, and Pablo Herrera, a bilingual student from West Middle School, was the second place winner at the national competition. So congratulations to Pablo. We will actually have him here, hopefully, at the September meeting. On July 28th, the high school the ENL Summer Enrichment students had the opportunity to visit New York City. For many of them, this was their first trip into the city. The group took the Long Island Railroad and the subway. They walked the New York City High Line, visited Chelsea Market, Times Square, and Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. And that was a group of 29 students. So even during the summer, we actually have trips going out. We actually have a trip going over August 28th, a Saturday night. We have 26 students heading over to the rinks because Sheriff Tulane is actually having a fundraiser. He's having a hockey game with the sheriffs against, I believe, some professional hockey players. So that's going to be quite an event. The Bridges program, which we started here a few years back, will welcome 150 students next week at the Freshman Center. Teachers and guidance counselors have planned a week full of surprises, fun, and exciting activities. This next one I'm also excited about. We have an extended school year. I am overwhelmed with both appreciation and pride. What we accomplished with the expansion of the extended school year program was truly amazing, okay? And it really was. That was over at Oak Park this year. Our teachers helped create enjoyable learning opportunities for over 200 students with special needs. Their hard work, dedication, and commitment to our students is both noteworthy and greatly appreciated. And I want to spend a moment in particular thanking our Director of Special Service, Ms. Rhonda Young, for her efforts. She actually is the reason we brought this in last year, because she was determined to wrestle these kids back during the summer from, we used to actually send them out to Patchogue So we're thrilled that they're here with us again. And I also want to thank, obviously, Ms. Sinius, the assistant to the director, Anna Briones, Sue Muller, who is a lead teacher, and all of the teachers and TAs and clericals and everyone else who was involved in that outstanding program. This summer, we embarked on a collaborative curriculum writing project. Teams of content area teachers certified in general ed, E&L, and students with disabilities focused on scaffolding the general education curriculum in Algebra 1, Global Studies 2, U.S. History and Government, Living Environment, English 10, and English 11. Really an incredible undertaking to support the needs of the students with disabilities as well as students that struggle with language acquisition and content. One of the goals of this project was to norm expectations and practices regarding specially designed instruction, but remain faithful to graduation level expectations. I want to thank all of the teachers who were involved in that, as well as the cabinet members, because they put a great deal of time into that as well. We also have new kitchens being put in, and this is really exciting. They're quite beautiful. They're in the middle schools, but this is to provide additional support to students with intense management needs. We decided to prove our full-day applied skills program at the middle schools and the freshman center. Students in this program typically require ongoing support in more than one major life activity to participate in integrated school, home, and community settings. So the construction is nearly complete on these kitchens. Each classroom will include a working kitchen, allowing students to practice and learn authentic life skill experiences within the context of their classroom and community. And again, I want to thank Ms. Young for her efforts determined to improve the experiences of our kids. And I think I already mentioned about the playgrounds, the sensory playgrounds over at Oak Park and Southwest. We hope to begin construction this fall.
Thank you very much, Mr. Loshna. There's a lot of good things happening, I think.
Lots of great things, lots of great things.
Yeah. So I believe that we are ready for item D1, D1H. D1H, approval for legal defense. Could I have a motion, please? Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Now we are going to the reason why I believe a lot of members of the public are here. I'm going to ask Mr. Fazil if he is still in the public. Rafi Fazil? Excuse me? Okay. Could I please have then Mr. Hassam Ahmed? Please come to the podium. Yep.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hassan Ahmed. I'm a local member of the Muslim community here. I'm also a member of PACE, as well as MDQ. And I wanted to make a few statements, if you don't mind, before asking my question. First, again, I'd like to thank everybody here for their consistent support of our local Muslim community. I wanted to discuss the item agenda that deals directly with selecting the food vendors and the dietary needs of our students. As the Muslim community is a fast-growing segment within this district, we wanted to ensure that our healthy halal food options are available to our students. Halal is an Arabic word that just translates to permissible. Halal is the manner in which the meat is slaughtered. It doesn't change the meat. It's not an ethnic way of producing food product. Thus, you can take halal meat and keep your existing menu and still provide opportunities for dietary restrictions to be met. As a result, we wanted to know how soon could we be looking forward to having halal meat options within the district. Do you guys have an idea?
Again, this is fairly new for the community. These are comments only. And what I'm going to do is I will listen to all the comments that are
Fair enough.
here, and then what I'll try to do is I will give you an answer that will hopefully satisfy any of the things that you might be asking. So absolutely, I try to
Appreciate it.
answer as to the timing.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Sure. So that was Mr. Ahmed. I have Saeed Hassan.
Hi, good evening, and Assalamu alaikum, that in peace on you. I'm with the member of the community, of course, Masjid al-Quran, and with PACE, which is Progressive American Community Empowerment, and our focus is diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. And I think all the discussion that have been done so far, I never sat in a school meeting for that long. In the past, it's usually my wife. So, thank you for making it interesting. Well, thank you for talking about the halal food and a lot of other items that you have, and I learned a lot about it, that there's so much happening here, seriously. But anyway, thank you so much. So the halal food, as the previous speaker said, it's not for only for Muslims. Anybody can eat that. And if more kids can get involved in the same, from 200 to 300 or 500 kids, it's better because that also will show diversity and inclusiveness, and they'll ask question what it is at. So this neighborhood is changing, the demographic is changing, and we have the Spanish, the blacks, the Asian. So when they talk to each other, I think this is the best way they can ask question. What is halal, for example? Hey, how do you pray? I go to a mosque, the other one go to a church. So this is an opportunity, actually, for all of us to know each other. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could I please have Mr. Mohammed Swal?
Assalamu alaikum and peace to you all. Thank you very much, the members of the board. This is actually the first time attending a school meeting, and even though I've been living in Bayshore for the last 30 plus years, I'm very glad to see that the Brentwood School District has got that much money through this doctor, and hopefully they will spending it properly also. And the first thing I think you should work on the ventilation. Thank you. I actually, if we had been briefed about the questionnaire that you have to write it down there, I would do a better job. I just write down there the halal food, and the good news is that you already, I have already arranged this. Question is, I guess, have you picked up the vendor, and will it start from the September this school year from this? I guess you will answer this later on. Those are two major concerns, and as Brother Said said also, halal food is no different. There is no change in the item. There's no change in the menu, except the meat and poultry products are cut in a special way. So it becomes halal for everybody. Kids will not even know the change in the taste. So it's for everybody, and enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Could I have Mr. Mustafa Saeed?
Good evening and Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. I just was here in support of this halal food. And basically, if you may be aware that in our Holy Scripture, Quran, it emphasizes very strongly about prohibition of pork or any derivative of pork or any contamination by pork or anything similar in case of wine or anything derived from wine or contaminated by wine. So those are the things that are prohibited to our community. And also the meat is all general meat, beef or mutton, but it has to be just slaughtered in a particular way by invoking the name of God and in a particular way. But otherwise it's just the same meat. So we would like our kids who are attending in a great number in your district to be able to not worry about these things and just enjoy. And anybody of the other faith can also enjoy from it. So I just was here in support of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Ramon Pardlo? I believe that I've covered all of the requests to comment on that particular item. What I'm going to try to do...
I'm sorry, I
I'm
think
just-
there's a resident who might have signed up for to speak on the wrong form for the agenda. Do you have?
I went through all of the agenda items and the community comments forms, but certainly if somebody has a form in their hand that they are looking to submit now, is there?
I'm sorry, I didn't get it right, I needed to listen in, but is it okay if I can get a call to?
Sure. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this?
I think he meant on this topic.
No. I have the others, but just on this topic. Sure. If you can come to the microphone.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Let me just lower my size, guys. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Board, thank you. For all those who don't know me, my name is Manny Troch. I am with the Brentwood Fire Department, and I'm also a very activist in this community, and I care, and my passion is for this community. And, salam alaikum. I learned, okay? But what I want to say to the board, and then I'll say a little bit of comment. I wrote something down. I said, good evening. I'm here tonight to request that the Brentwood Board of Education so diligently in asking the cafeteria manager to rework the food budget to include halal food options. The district needs to send out an RFP bid for halal food. It is the district's responsibility to recognize the nutrition needed for all our children and be respectful to custom all the nationalities in our Muslim community population. And what I say with that is this statement. Brentwood, for 18 years here, I've been here. And my respects to all those who have been here way before me. But what is most important is that our culture here is growing in different diversity of all styles. And coming from Puerto Rico, I understand one thing, and my father, may he rest in peace, always said, that the most important thing is to care about everyone, not separately. The school board here is doing one great job. And yes, we have disagreements, but I'm on the board of directors for the CDA, Community Development Agency for Housing, and believe me, we get the same. And we have to disagree sometimes. But at the end, we come to an agreement that everyone can understand. But there's one thing that we mostly understand, is our kids are the most important thing. Because believe it or not, someday they'll be sitting in those seats. And someday they'll be giving us the education while they're helping us and feeding us. Again, please take this consideration. Please take the consideration of the different cultures that we have in this community. And with all due respect, I thank you for all the hard work also.
I believe we have one more speaker on this topic.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. My name is Ahmed Deeb. I actually graduated from Brentwood High School back in 2010. I'm one of 9, and we all attended the Brentwood School District, all graduated from this school district. So I'm very happy to see that, this is being put on the table. Actually going to Brentwood High School, I will say that, we're probably one of the only high schools that I remember at the time that even had an MSA, Muslim Student Association. So, it is a very diverse community. And there was definitely times, entering that cafeteria where you're very skeptical as what you can and can't eat. Many days that I've eaten cream cheese bagels with Doritos in them. It's kind of a Brentwood thing, That's a Brentwood thing. That definitely is. And just want to thank you guys, and I hope to see that, I'm actually also a new parent, so the next few years, thank you. You know, I hope that, you know, when it comes time for my son to enter the Brentwood School District as well, that he doesn't have to go through the same challenges that, you know, a lot of us did while we were entering that cafeteria. And just want to say, I love the idea about the American Ninja Warrior. You know, I guess after they get the halal nutrition, they can go and burn it off. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, I believe that was the last of the community members who wanted to comment on this particular topic. And let me just reiterate what I said at the top of the meeting. I think that it is completely unanimous on this board that we are committed to embracing all cultures and the needs of those cultures within the Brentwood community, regardless of who they are, because, you know, the Muslim community is the newest or one of the newest, and there are going to be many more after. This community has evolved, you know, all of the years that I've been here, and it will continue to do so. We embrace immigrants from all over the world, and I think that it's probably one of our greatest strengths. So with that being said, again, I truly believe that there is a unanimous consensus on this board to move forward with trying to provide halal options. As I mentioned earlier, when we were trying to explore this years ago, it was extremely cost prohibitive. But recently, you know, we've had New York City, the largest school district in the country, make halal options available. I believe that it's at least 40 to 50 schools, and I believe that there is a proposal to try to expand that to all of the city schools. Trustee Prescott had sent me an article in which the Buffalo School District was running a pilot program to offer halal meals, you know, in upstate. We, like I said, I think that we pride ourselves in being incredibly progressive. We stand to do everything that we can to bring this to this community as soon as possible. And the reason why I can't give you a specific date is because through this process, there are certain requirements that we must meet as a district. There are, you know, federal food guidelines, there are state mandates, there are contractual obligations that we must meet. If this has to be sent out on an RFP, that RFP has to be crafted, and we have to follow all of the rules and regulations that are imposed on us as a district. So that is something that we cannot just disregard, and that is the law, and that is something that we're going to abide by. The other thing that is incredibly important, I think, through this is that as members of this faith, you don't want us to just give you, you know, halal food that's in name only and doesn't abide by the true religious intent of the faith. I have tried to do my own research, and I know that many of the members on this board have also. And there, it's, you know, it's not just how most people think that it's just how animals are slaughtered. It's not just that. You know, you have to trace the food all the way back to its origin. I believe that some of the requisites is that, you know, that it be grass-fed beef, and that, you know, that there's a intensive process to this certification of the halal process. And with that being said, I want to commit our district to doing this the right way, because, you know, picking it up from the corner store, because we do have halal vendors, may not meet the requisites and the certifications that you want as a member of this Muslim faith. So what we need to do is we need to educate ourselves so that what we're doing is providing true halal meals within the scope of the religion that you are practice. So I am going to say that we had a wonderful sample of food. We are going to continue aggressively to try to pursue these options. And what I'm going to ask is that maybe at some point, we have somebody from, additional people from your community, reach out to the business office so that we can sit down and we can find out, what those requisites are. I do know, as I said earlier, that New York State has a certification process in terms of, or has a certification department or certification
Robert, we
process.
did already have those start those conversations.
Yep.
And they are taking place. So I know somebody asked about vendors, we're just not up to that. That's part of the bidding process. But, what took place today was a sampling of the food and an understanding, again, of what halal is. And, we're just taking it, like you very well said, step by step to make sure that we meet all the requirements on both ends.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is our commitment to this community, to your community, and your faith. And so I'm really, really encouraged by the fact that I believe that the cost of these meals will be dramatically reduced because of the demand. And that was really what we were dealing with earlier. So I really, really hope that we can secure this, as soon as possible. What that date is, I don't know, but you're more than welcome to come back to our meetings to do some follow-up, or, as you've done in the past, speak to us individually. I know that Ms. Burgos has been involved with some other community members, and I hope that this satisfies the need that you had to come out tonight. Okay? So I did want to add one more thing, and that is that this board is not only committed to bring halal to Brentwood, but this board is committed to increasing the quality of the food right across the board for all students. We are incredibly, some more than others, passionate about making sure that the quality of the food for all of our students is increased. And I'm going to tell you right now, you talk about harnessing energy. If we could harness the energy around this one topic, we could supply 1 million houses with energy, right? Exactly. So this is incredibly important topic, because I do believe that the halal food has that quality that we're looking for. So it's a commitment to the Muslim community, but it's also a commitment to every child in this district on behalf of this board to making sure that the lunch program is improved upon in terms of the quality, in terms of the quantity, in terms of the selection. So Ms. Safiri, do you want to add anything to that?
No, you said it all.
You sure? Okay. All right. So that's how I would conclude this particular topic. So thank you very much for coming out. So what I am going to do is I'm going to ask now other community members who've filled out these comments. Mr. Hudson, do you?
Yes. Good night now.
Good evening. My name is Ron Hudson. I am a physical education teacher here in the Brentwood School District. My topic is a little different than where we were going just now, but bear with me. I would like to start by saying I want to thank the district this past school year for discontinuing the use of the locker rooms inside of the schools due to the fact that we had poor circulation of air. Okay, so the locker rooms were shut down and we no longer use the locker room for safety reasons. I also want to thank the district for not using the hall lockers in the schools because students tend to congregate together in big huddles, which is not exactly safe under these conditions. And they actually created a one-way path for students to go in, and I have to say I thank you for that. At East Middle School, we tend to open up our doors in the gymnasium. We'll have a fan at one door bringing air in to the gym, and at the other end of the gym, we'll have a fan pushing air out of the gym to create a flow of air through the gym. Now, I want to share with you something I spoke to a science teacher last year at East Middle School. He shared with me that when he first started working here years ago, for some reason, he kept getting sick. He didn't know why he was getting sick. But what he decided to do was he said, you know what, I'm going to open up the windows and I'm going to open up the doors so I can let some air flow through. And then he went a step further and he opened up the door, the windows, and he put a fan in the window, bringing air in to the room, and he put a fan at the door, pushing air out of the room, creating a flow of air through the room. And surprisingly, he says, you know what, when I did that, I stopped getting sick. Now, last year we did a lot of contact tracing, right? They asked questions like, who was in the room? How many people? How close were you to people? How long were you in the room? Was there ventilation? Now, when school starts back up, we have many students coming back, and students may be roughly 3 feet apart now because that's the distance at which we're working with. Yes, they'll have on masks, but just imagine if you take all those students and you put them in a room 3 feet apart, and the teacher, and you shut the doors down and you close the windows. Guess what? You don't have any fresh air circulating through the room. So guess what? Yes, you have on masks. That mask is designed to really protect you if you project projectiles out into the air. But guess what? If you're in that room and the doors are closed and there's no air moving, all it takes is one person that's infected with the virus that can transmit that. And if he or she is in that room and they're talking and breathing, guess what? That COVID air begins to grow. It begins to move through the room. And these students and teachers are in rooms for at least 40 minutes or longer. And if I'm not mistaken, if you're in a setting like that for 10 minutes or more, you're at risk. So if you take these students and you put them in that room, guess what? That student now may be at risk of catching COVID. Now, how could we possibly prevent that from happening? Well, one of the things we could do is open the windows, open the doors, create a flow of air moving so that we don't have that stagnant air sitting there, so we have fresh air moving through the room. I have to say this. If we want to create a safe and healthy environment for the students and for staff, please create an environment that's safe and healthy for the children and staff in this district. Thank you very much. Ron Hudson, Brentwood.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson. So I would like to just add a comment, and it's a topic that was should have been really at the top of the meeting. In terms of, I know there were some questions that were sent over electronically, and questions sent, during the last couple of weeks in terms of what Brentwood is going to do in terms of masks at the beginning of the school year. What we're doing is still waiting for guidance from New York State and the Board of Health. So we believe that there are going to be, specific language as to what it is that school districts are going to be required and not required to do come September. So we don't have an answer as to what that will be, but we do expect an answer shortly. Mr. Lotion, I wanted to add some comments on.
No, I wanted to thank Mr. Hudson. I actually did send out some memos, and I'll continue to do that this year, keeping the door open and the window so that circulation is in the classroom.
Thank you. Mr. Fritz, Joe Fritz?
Joe Fritz, Brentwood resident. I'd like to thank the board and the audience to have a, what I would call, in using 1960s verbiage, a love fest at the school board meeting this evening. As the school year is on the eve of reopening the schools, I wish to make a few suggestions. The school's finances are in great shape as a result of the influx of aid from the New York State and the federal government. The board must handle this opportunity by making sure that the budget items are spent well and not spent with the giddiness due to the increase of monies. In addition to the spending of the monies, I ask that the superintendent put together a plan crafted with the consent of the board and the community. The plan must be in writing in order to not only have credibility, but being in writing, it will act as a stimulator to the superintendent and the school board. The plan must show the direction where the school is to lead the students. And if we do not continue to do this, we do not have a plan in writing, and having been on the board, I'm familiar with the responsibilities of the board and the superintendent, and one of the more important responsibilities is crafting a plan. The plan to be successful must be specific and philosophical. Mouthing empty phrases without a plan on how to reach a specific goal is foolhardy. We must have a plan in place in order to hold those accountable. A part of the plan must consider increasing the percentage of graduates who graduate at the end of the school year. The passing rate at present, for lack of a proper word, has been abysmal. We must plan to do better. There is a tendency for individuals to make excuses when they're not successful at teaching the subject matter that they've been trained and paid to teach. Often staff blames the students for lack of success and not themselves. Spoiler alert, we do not need individuals to teach our school district who come with this attitude. The school teacher must have a plan. But if this school district does not have a plan, one might ask, why should we, referring to the teacher? The plan needs to come from the top down and must flow to those who teach our students. The failure to plan is a plan to fail. In order to be successful in school, we must spend money wisely. This means we must spend our precious resources not only on sports, but on academics. For example, I had a brother who was a teacher at the Brentwood School District for over 20 years. He headed the Science Olympiad. I still meet students who were taught by him and encouraged by him when he headed this program. With an opportunity to brag, when I was on the school board provided him with a budget to purchase materials to compete against the most prestigious schools. And when he qualified, he went to the state qualifications. On many occasions after a school board meeting, I would meet with John at the gym with his band of competitors, working late into the evening to prepare for competition. When the school's budget was reduced so that the monies to compete against the well-funded Suffolk County schools, he had to again resort to selling candy and do whatever to get a paltry sum to compete with those other schools. This is not the way to instill confidence in our school district. If we expect our students to succeed, they must be armed with the resources and the teaching staff equipped to provide the teaching skills and the confidence to move forward. Notice that the sports budget was not cut and certainly not decimated during the past decade. Before I close, I want to make a pitch for a sport that has been missing for several years. It is a sport that can provide the school district with opportunities for both male and female students with an opportunity to succeed by scholarships provided to skilled athletes, and that is the golf team. It's not an expensive sport. Many golf scholarships wither at the vine due to the lack of applicants. It provides scholarships for our students, or would provide them if we had the sport available. These students will not suffer from a host of problems when they reach middle age, and in the era of this pandemic, it is a sport that has been thriving. Finally, I ask the board to start this process with the newfound funds in the kitty and spend it by planning it wisely. Lastly, I asked the school superintendent to prepare and make the new school year one that can be remembered, a new beginning. Let's begin, let's plan not to fail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fritz. Mr. Como?
Okay, I have a couple of things that I'd like to talk about. One, I have to tell Ms. Green, I'm so sorry that you graduated in the second best class. Okay, I'm just telling you. Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, someone, was this yours? Candace? Tonight, when you go home and you say your prayers, remember Michael Esposito. He was the only Brentwood kid who was killed in Afghanistan. And just remember him for a few minutes. I have a few questions here, all right? And I know you're not going to answer me, all right? But we'll see, maybe we can get something out of you. Will all faculty and staff members have to be vaccinated for the school year? If not, why? And will they be tested on a weekly basis? Second one, the federal COVID recovery money we've got is for districts to make equal between students who have money and come from wealthy districts and students who don't have that same background. We keep ordering second best food and materials, and we have this money, so we should not. Why are we still cutting corners, offering our kids facilities, foods, etc., that is second best? The money we got is more than, say, Comac, because we need to do better, and now we have the money to do it, and it's your job as a board member to stop this mindset because the money is there. As you can tell, I'm reading these for one reason. These were sent to me because they know I have a big mouth, and I'll bring them up. What action has the district taken to stop the Knowles Farm project? Okay, I see that we're doing it for the transfer station, but are we doing the same for the Knowles project? Because if you're not aware, it was passed. Okay? And it's going to be 70 two-bedroom apartments, okay, and 50 one-bedroom apartments. And if you think traffic is bad now, all right, they're having parking spaces for 293 cars. All right? And I heard as late as like 4 o'clock today that one of the stores that are going to be in that shopping center is going to be a Starbucks. Okay? I don't know if there's anything we could do at this late hour, okay? But the last time I talked with the town of Islip, it was tabled. Okay? We brought it up at our meeting, community meeting we had this past week, in front of a commissioner and the supervisor, all right? And nothing was said about it. Can the board explain how pre-K students are picked, and are those not chosen are divided fairly between the 3 pre-K schools that serve our district? Next one. What the heck is happening with the schoolhouse? It's been like 12 years, maybe even more than that. Are you offering at-home learning for students who have a medical exemption for themselves or someone in their household, like someone who has lung cancer? Okay? And the last thing, which is something we talked about earlier, all right? Sue Berland, one of our legislators, was in the Key West and wanted to vote by video, and the county rejected it, and that was during the virus. That's all I have to say. Hopefully, we'll get some answers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Como. Mr. Loescher, maybe you can elaborate a little bit. I know that I mentioned what we were trying to do with the opening of school year and mask requirements and some of those issues brought up in terms of, medical exemptions. Can you just elaborate and just
Sure. I mean, I think I can answer a lot of the questions that Mr. Fritz brought up and Mr. Como brought up. So you want me to
Absolutely.
start?
If you want
Okay.
to start with Mr. Fritz, I think that you had the comment and I failed to recognize that.
Mr. Fritz mentioned about the budget for the 2 federal grants that we received. This was just an overview that was presented tonight. We actually do have a line-by-line budget, dollar by dollar, that must be spent. Obviously, we didn't present it here this evening. We also had to submit to the state a detailed plan as to how we would spend the monies, not just this year, but in the second and third, and in the one grant on the 4th year. So we've actually, spent a considerable amount of time going through that budget. This evening was just an overview. I don't want you to think that we do not have every dollar planned. As a matter of fact, as I said, Dr. Leone and the cabinet have spent a considerable amount of time, and even as the deadline was coming to submit it, we were the day before that morning going over dollar amounts and looking at ways to spend it properly. So there was a great deal of time and effort put into that budget. Also, I did want to let you know that the athletic budget actually was cut. We did cut the athletic budget last year. Not happy about that, but unfortunately we didn't run middle school sports last year. So lots of things unfortunately were cut because of the pandemic and also because of what we received in federal funding for last school year. In terms of
the vaccination requirements coming into the school year, medical exemptions.
Right.
Yes.
At this time, no school district, as far as I know, has mandated vaccinations for their students or staff. So that is the case with the Brentwood School District, and we are also not mandating mandatory testing for those faculty members and students who did not receive the vaccination. Understand, this may change over time. I can't tell you what exactly is going to happen in terms of the state governor, the new governor that will be installed next week. I can say with a fair degree of certainty, I'm sure you've all read this in Newsday or listened to her speeches, but I suspect she will come out with a mask mandate next week. And we'll have to deal with that, and we'll have to alert the community to that. That's one of the reasons, obviously, there have been some communities that have come out, and they've said, they've all come out with different plans, but they may have to be adjusted, those plans, once the governor actually comes out and mandates something. We thought it was best not to come out with something and then adjust it later on. And that's one of the reasons. But I don't want you to think that we have not spent a considerable amount of time going over the reopening plan.
Mr. Loshner, can you explain a little bit about the pre-K program, how it's picked and how the kids are distributed into the...
Yeah, actually, yeah, and I do want to encourage anybody who's listening, we obviously have a lot of people online who are listening, that there are still spaces open for full day and half day, but most people are looking for full day attendance in UPK. So if anybody's listening and you have a child that you're considering bringing into UPK, please call us tomorrow in the registration office and sign up. And also how it's actually, thankfully for the most part, how it's done now is we're actually granting most people's request into Family Service League, Shepherd's Gate, and MDQ. Now, some people who ask for half day, it is a little bit more restrictive because Shepherd's Gate is only a full day UPK. So if you're asking for half day, you may be at MDQ, for example. So that's a little bit more. We don't have as many half day seats available to the community. So that's really the way it is. I do want to thank, obviously, actually, really everybody here is involved. Again, I keep thanking the cabinet, but Dr. Leone, Ms. Wanda Ortiz spends a great deal of time, as does Ms. Palmer, with the UPK, and we put a great deal of effort into it. And I also want to say we do a great deal of professional development with the teachers down there. But I think, Ms. Ortiz, what do you think? Did I? Mm-hmm. Right.
Ms. Ortiz, I'm going to ask, can you come to the podium because the viewing public...
They may not hear it.
May not hear it, and I think that this is incredibly valuable.
So at this time, we have 788 seats available. We registered already 513 students, and so we have seats. So anyone that wants to register the students, they just have to call the registration office. It's 631-434-2301. The phones are ringing all day, so please be patient. If at some point no one is answering, you can always call my office also. It's 631-434-2511, and we help all the parents that come through. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there was a comment made about the Knowles Farm project. I believe that all community members are incredibly surprised to hear that was passed. And I haven't confirmed it, but I did get it from a board member that there was a posting by a different community member indicating that that it was finalized and that it is moving forward. So I don't know what to say. I mean, I believe that...
I'm familiar with what's going on.
Mr. Fritz, if you'd like to please inform the community.
What occurred was last week, it was before the Suffolk County Planning Board. The Suffolk County Planning Board received the application when it was sent to them from the Islip Town Planning Board. However, the main problem is that in order for them to get any approval, and there's no approval yet, it has to be approved by the Islip Town Board, and it's going to be withheld until such time as they get sewage approval, because the sewage approval was a request by the people who have sewers over at the former Enterman's complex to provide Knowles Farm with sewerage, which means they have to run up Fifth Avenue underneath the railroad tracks, down Suffolk Avenue, and over to Knowles Farm. It's approximately about 2 miles. So the long and the short of it is, in order to do that, it's what I would consider to be somewhat of a Herculean task. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but nevertheless, it's something which it will take quite some time. So while Mr. Cuomo was somewhat correct, I just more or less wanted to provide you with the information which I've received in speaking with some of the other individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fritz. That was incredibly informative, and I think a relief for a lot of the Brentwood community who truly appreciate having the Knowles Farm as it is in its current location.
So, schoolhouse? I know the schoolhouse was
Sure.
also. Yeah, the schoolhouse, we've actually, we feel the same way you do, Andy. We're a little bit frustrated with it, which is kind of why we have worked on it over the last few months. Ms. O'Connor and I have been involved in this. It is very costly. What has to happen, unfortunately, this happened obviously many years ago. The schoolhouse was dropped out back, and what it needs is a foundation. And it is quite costly, as you can imagine, to raise this very, very old building, raise this properly, and then build a foundation and then move it back down onto the foundation. And, we tried to do it through various methods. Finally, just recently, I asked Ms. Connor, I said, we're going to have to really just move ahead and somewhat bite the bullet, if you will, and, really absorb that cost. So right now, we're in the process of going to different vendors to see if they can, in fact, lift the building. Not many people can do it. Lift the building and put the foundation. There is another possibility. It's a little less expensive, but it will still pass the muster, and that is that you actually put pilings in, and on the foundation. So you don't dig the entire foundation, but you put in a series of pilings, and that's also what we're looking at, and we hope that will bring the cost down, make it a little bit more manageable. But we are really committed. We're in the midst of a lot of projects, as you can imagine, but we want this desperately. Obviously, the Historical Society is very much involved in this.
Have you contacted them about what you think?
I think Ms. O'Connor has spoken to Ms. Edelstein, and, yep.
Yes, we've spoken, we've shared the plans, because she has plans that were done years and years ago. We have more recent plans. We've had multiple vendors out to get, that are looking into, or developing, I should say, price quotes on both the scenarios that Mr. Lochner just explained. So yeah, we're moving forward with that, and we're just... About a month ago, she shared the plan. She dropped them off in my office. And Mr. Cruz is very much involved with the vendors as well. Mike Cruz in Buildings and Grounds.
Oh, my Cruz.
Yeah. Yep. So it doesn't look like it yet, but there's a lot of activity going on. I think you'll see some changes there very soon. Yes, that is the plan.
That's our hope.
We will
Yep.
move that quickly now.
Mr. Moss?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Moss. I'm a resident of Brentwood. I taught mathematics for 11 years in the Brentwood School District, and I'm a school administrator for now over 10 years. At the last meeting, I brought some questions up, and I wanted to thank Trustee Moore for pushing the issue and helping me get an answer as to the question of the posting of the elementary positions, which did happen on OLAS, which I'm very happy to hear. That I was mistaken. I will stand to be corrected, that they were on OLAS. I am also going to say I appreciate the improvements to the website, and that in addition to OLAS, that the positions are now, I see every teaching position being posted on OLAS as well as on the website. This is the first time since the policy was created in 2005 that every single teaching position has been posted on the website and on OLAS, making it available to everybody in our community. So I want to say thank you for making that move. It was a good one.
You just stunned us, Mr. Moss. I'm sorry. We're just a little shocked.
Everybody's really surprised?
That's it.
And it's also on Facebook.
It's only been, listen, it's been a rough road.
Listen,
and I was involved back in the day making that policy alongside Gail Kirkham and Tomas Del Rio and Joe Fritz and George Talley and folks who put their hard money, effort, sweat, equity into literally creating the words that you read and have added to in your tenure as board members. And listen, it was tough, it was rough, we have rough relationships, and you didn't want to really listen the first or second or third time around. But we got there. We're here now, and I'm going to call it what it is. It's success for our community. And I am not going to look over success. Those of you who know me know I'm very much a proud Brentwood graduate, and I celebrate all of our successes. Okay, that said, you also know I was at the last board meeting and I said, please, I begged you to make some changes on those contracts for teachers whose certifications run out. And I said, there's a law that precludes you from giving contracts longer than the teacher. I'll read it to you. It's Education Law, Section 3011, Contract with Teacher. It says, no trustee shall contract with any teacher whose certificate of qualifications shall not cover a period at least as long as that covered by the contract of service. I think it's pretty plain English that the contract that goes to the teacher can only be as long as their certification. So I'm asking you to reconsider. I will say this, and maybe the attorneys may not like it. Attorneys get paid when we're fighting. So when they come, they make a phone call in the back and they say, yeah, it's all right, he's wrong. They get paid because they get to write another script to defend you at the children's book money cost. So I'm asking you as board trustees, now that you've heard the words from my mouth and the laws that are on the books, to reconsider and come back next month with corrected contract dates. Put whatever language, pending this, pending that, put the language in that you need to say to give the person the probationary contract for this many years, pending this or pending that, whatever the language is, flowery language that you need to put on it. But the bottom line is education law rules over public schools. And I, for one, in the vein of Trustee Safari, don't want to continue to have to do this. It's at not just my expense, but the district's expense when you don't listen to expertise in the community. I said it before. You don't have to like me, but you have to respect what I bring to the table. Because when I bring it, I bring it. And I bring it not just for my praise or ego, whatever. I bring it because it's the right thing to do. And when it comes to being the NAACP president, I can tell you from my research that the right thing to do is what saves black lives. The right thing to do is what ends up helping black women have access to elementary school positions. In a school district where there are only 6 African American elementary school teachers out of over 400, the step that you made tonight gives everybody a chance. Posting all the time, making sure people have full access to apply, giving people a fair chance, not scooting in folks who don't have their certifications yet just because they're your niece, neighbor, or friend. Those matter. Doing the right thing matters for people of color. So that's why you hear me being a stickler for the rules. Because the rules affect whether or not people of color have true opportunity to compete. And every time you sit up there and break the rules that I bring to the table, you're defeating the legislation that Martin, Malcolm, and everybody else died for here in New York State to protect everyone. So that's why I'm a stickler for the rules. And that's why I have to say that when you hear me coming with something and I'm saying that it's illegal, it's illegal. The Commission of Education just admonished the school district because of the hiring of people and the payments to people who were not certified to teach the subjects for which they were appointed by the Board of Education. I shouldn't have to write you all up to get there. So if we're going to move forward as a district, then I have to say, you have to open the dialogue. You're the leaders now. These are the jobs that you wanted. For us to come to the microphone with real issues and them not be addressed is what leads to the lawsuits, Mr. Ferry. So I can say tonight, Mr. Ferry, thank you for voting for the diversity. That's a change. Ms. Burgos, thank you for voting for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a change. I hope you will also tell the people who supported you in the system to leave her alone and let her do her work. I'm very aware, y'all know I got friends in the system, of what's going on. Use the power that is vested in you to bring the nonsense down. There are good, hardworking people in this district who don't need to be bullied by anyone about the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that needs to happen in this district. I'm not sitting at the table. You all have the power to vote 4, 5, 6, or 7 and figure out how to stop the nonsense. As your attorney, how do we stop the nonsense? How do we have fair hiring without interference from people who shouldn't be interfering? That's what I'm urging you to do. I'm also urging you to hold your attorney accountable to good legal advice. And an attorney that doesn't return having reading you the law that I'm talking about isn't worth his or her weight in the money that he or she or the firm is being paid. Because in the end, it costs our children money. Now, the last thing I have to say is about the money that we have. I'm very glad that we have it. I am an NAACP president. I am going to talk tonight about the power of women. There were 3 very powerful women who worked really hard for this district, who were excess last summer. We now have the money to bring them back. And this is not only for them, it's for our community. It's a major quality control issue. Transportation, a nightmare at the beginning of last year. We need our transportation coordinator back. Food services, major conversation tonight about diversity in food. The only person of color who works in food services was excess last year. Bring her back, a Black Brentwood graduate. Human resources. The first person in this district who I have seen actually advocate and make it happen, putting those teaching positions on OLAS one by one, was excess last year. Human resource became a disaster for us in October of this year, accessing people from elementary math and science consulting positions, replacing people, putting people in the special ed who weren't certified. That's why you got admonished. You called it, in your own words, a human resource error, because you had a payroll manager doing human resources. Big mistake. Bring Alice back. Let her do the work that she was doing for our district in its full entirety. Now, I have to say this to the women on this panel. This is one of the few, mostly female, almost all female majorities on Long Island on a school board. We just had a governor who resigned because 11 women had the courage to stand up to the bully. And I'm saying, for the betterment of our school system, those 3 women need to be back working here. The coronavirus is over. The excuse for not having the money and maybe not needing them so much is over. We now have 17,000, almost 18,000 kids going back to school, and you're gonna tell me there's no supervisor of those 3 categories? It's unreasonable. Why are you putting the residents through hell in quality just to save a couple of dollars? You're talking about like maybe $300,000, like maybe. Out of like 40 million? It makes no sense. It also doesn't make sense when you have 3 women who have some of the lowest salaries being accessed, and then men who are making $200,000 a year staying. Doesn't make sense. Ladies, mothers, sisters, daughters, it doesn't make sense. So I'm asking you to return those 3 women and honor the power that has been given to you by the people of Brentwood to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. I am going to request, Mr. Moss, that you please forward the language that you and the document that you quoted from to our district clerk so that she could provide it to board members and the attorney. And I can commit to you that I will review and have this. Mr. Moss, I'm going to ask respectfully. Respectfully.
If you don't correct it, it's going to be an issue.
Okay. So respectfully, what I
give you a notice of petition or a verified petition.
So what I'm going to do is, again, commit to you that we will review the document and the language that you are sending to the district clerk. We'll have those conversations with our attorney, and I'll be the first to say that we're all fallible and we all can make mistakes, and if that is what has happened here, it will be corrected. To the second point, in terms of the posting of the jobs and having that playing field leveled, that was, it took a long time. It took a long time, it absolutely did. But that was all done, I want to say, through trial and error. It wasn't until this last version of 9240 was passed by the Board of Education that this was now mandated to the district. And I would encourage everybody to take a look at Board Policy 9240 because it's so incredibly important to what it is that we're trying to do in terms of, diversification, address some of the issues of no access that have been brought to this board. So 9240 actually has language in it that forbids and that did away with the continuous recruitment postings that were always on our website. So to Mr. Moss's credit, the idea and the fact that you didn't have applicants who were out there looking to apply, never really knowing what specific positions were available, was quite confusing. And I could see how some people would be disheartened because I applied, but I never got called back. So 9240 has very, very specific language in terms of what it is that the district is allowed to and not allowed to do. It forbids the continuous recruiting postings on certificated, positions. Not necessarily all positions, because we have continuous recruiting for TAs and those hard-to-fill positions that we're always looking for, right? It also has a mandatory 2-week posting, which was something else that, that was acknowledged and that we talked about as, another tool that we could use to level the playing field and to provide access to everybody that's in a fair way. So it's mandatory 2-week posting for the positions. And And it's funny because, this was another piece that, so we are also hiring within 90 days of the posting after it's been posted for 2 weeks. So, so the idea that we would be hiring from a posting that was, 6 months old is now out the window. It has to be within 90 days of the actual posting that has been posted for a minimum of 2 weeks. So, and all of these things, and I have to say this, these are changes that were made by the Board of Education, but they were embraced by our central administration, Mr. Lochner and his central administrative team. We explained what it was that we were trying to do. We explained what the intent was. This is what it is. Board creates the policy and the administrator carries it out. So I do believe that, that although, sometimes incredibly painful, right? Our exchanges have been fruitful, right? And to the point that you made about, them being put on the district website and Facebook. That was an idea from one of our board members, specifically, Trustee Gonzalez-Prescott. She was like, listen, why aren't we doing this already? We have Facebook. This is what, should be doing. And that was just an email that I sent to the PR firm. But from that, there was a directive given to the district clerk to share all postings, that all postings would end up going to the district clerk, and she has a list of people that the postings need to be distributed to, including Board of Ed members, including our diversity, equity, inclusion officer, and our public relations firm that does the posting on our Facebook page, and I think it's our IT department that does it for our district website. So that is now an automatic process, and I do believe, and I agree with you, that this is going to be incredibly productive for incredibly productive tool to address the issue that we are talking about now. So, Mr. Fritz used, the phrase that, this was a love fest. I'm glad that we were all sitting down when you opened up your remarks, Mr. Moss, because, I didn't know didn't know what else was coming, but I am going to, now also thank you. This has been incredibly difficult and hard to deal with relationship, but I hope that you know now that we are listening and that we are trying. Not perfect. We understand that this is a work in progress, but that the intention is sincere. Okay. So with that being said, again, thank you to everybody that's here. Thank you to the board members, Mr. Lochner, Ms. O'Connor, and council. And to everybody, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the summer, and I'm going to request a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Motion?
Second.
Who said the motion? Could I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Motion by trustee Holder. Could I have a second, please?
I motioned already.
Okay, trustee, first was by trustee Moore, second? By trustee Holder. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.
Oh, you're